Hello, Louis.
Hello.
Thanks for your time. It's just a short interview before your presentation in next week in Laval Virtual. You will talk about health and immersive technology in health. Could you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, of course. Well, I have quite an unusual profile because I started off as a patient. I woke up just before my 20th birthday in an intensive care unit room. I had a pretty rough accident. I was struck by a 15,000 volt electrical arc. And I started off by practicing by myself, trying to manage my own pain. Because, of course, when I woke up after that accident, I had a lot of pain. I actually discovered later on that I had pretty much all the worst pain you can get. So I didn't do things halfway. I had phantom limb pain. I had burn pain because I was severely burned on more than 50% of my body. I had fractures. I had neuropathic pain because all the nerves from my legs were totally burned from the inside. And the list was so long that I'm not going to do it now because that would be an entire interview by itself. But I started off as a patient, and then progressively I started to learn and I became a therapist. I specialized in the treatment of pain because all along the way, while managing my own pain, I always thought of how can I do to transmit that to other people, because what I really wanted to do was to be able to help also all of those persons that I had around me that were suffering as well. And since I could manage my own pain up to quitting completely opiates by myself, I knew that I was onto something pretty powerful. So I studied a lot. I managed to become a therapist specialized in pain. I went into operating rooms in order to replace full narcosis. I did that up until a cardiac surgery of 4 hours. So I was pretty confident of the methodology that I had built. And I started to think about how I could make it better. And that's where I thought of VR, and I started developing around that. Then I got trained in neuroscience as well as in artificial intelligence, became a programmer of artificial intelligence, and I became as well a neuroscience expert for one of the biggest neurotechnology company that uses VR. And that's pretty much who I am. I could talk way longer, but I mean, if I need to put that in a nutshell, that's pretty much it.
Thank you. You will talk about the next step in digital health, and just want to know if you think the present step is to focus on technology now.
Well, I think it's really good that it is focused on technology, and for me, the next step is not about defocusing from technology and focus away, or it's just right now it's really objectively data driven.
Yeah.
People are really exploring data mining in healthcare. There's still a lot of problematics into that area, but I won't talk about those. But what I think we're missing right now, and I think for me that will be the next step, is taking all of that data that we have, because we have a lot. I mean, yeah, I can't remember, but it was 6.9 billion data for health. So it's huge. It's huge. But what we're missing is that we need to integrate the subjective part of living. Because it's one thing to have objective data, to have physiological data, sensor data, to have all the medical records, because now we have electronic medical records for hospitals. There are a lot of initiatives out there with blockchain as well to do gigantic data set with genetics, with fMRI, with all the blood results. So we have a lot of objective data, but the subjective part is completely absent and it's not taken into account. And for me, it's a big part because, for example, there have been lots of studies and especially for pain, where we give opiates for pain, but if the patient doesn't believe in the potency of the treatment, well, opiates, they have no effect. And for me, it's amazing that we're still on the objective data and we don't think about the subjective part.
And just, do you think that the use of XR will give kind of superpower to the patient?
Yeah, pretty much actually, because for me, VR, well, XR pretty much in general, because I mean, AR is the same and MR as well. For me, it is a powerful tool in the sense that it gives a direct access to the brain. It's a way to trick the brain, and you can do so much with VR. I mean, you can create the world you're going to live in.
Yeah.
You can interact with the person living in that world, and you can create effects that you cannot have in the world. And there are emotional mechanisms, there are memory mechanisms, and we can see that because VR is more and more used for dementia, for example. We have attention mechanisms. I mean, the use of distraction into pain has been well studied up until now. Hoffman, he started like 40 years ago with that. So you have a lot of brain mechanisms, cognitive mechanisms, where you can have a powerful impact while creating a world for the person on which you want to have the impact. So you have a control of the entire experience of the person that has the VR headset or AR or XR in general. But the thing you need to do to really trigger those mechanisms is to take into account his subjectivity. Because if you put someone into, I don't know, a fake room where it's an office, some will super love it. I mean, the career fanatics who spend hours in the office will love it. But people working outside all day long, well, they won't have the same impact.
Exactly.
And it's the same for creation, for attention, for memory. Everything needs to be tailored to the person that is wearing the headset. And that's where subjectivity comes in.
Thanks, Louis. It's very, very interesting. I can't wait to see your presentation next week in Laval Virtual.
Thank you.
Thanks again. And okay, see you next week in a health session.
Yeah, exactly. With pleasure. Thank you.
Bye, Louis.
Bye.